hello there. I'm going to start today by showing you 3 clips, and I want you to tell me which one is the cutest, okay? Is it going to be adorable clip number 1?
Baby mine, don't you cry. Baby mine, dry your eyes. Rest your head close to my heart, never to part, baby of mine.
Aww. Or is it going to be adorable clip number 2? Aww. Or is it going to be adorable clip number 3? Aww. I know this is going to be a close one. Yeah, which one of those 3 was the most adorable? Probably too close to call, so I'm not even going to bother taking a vote today. I don't know if you know this or not, but kids aren't always the greatest. Did you know that? Yeah, you probably did. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are parts of them that are great. That's why Jesus says in Matthew 18, verse 3, "Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." Well, clearly kids have some qualities that we're supposed to emulate. But then in Scripture you will also read something different. In 1 Corinthians 13:11, Paul says this, "When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me." Well, that's interesting. So wait a minute. We're supposed to become like children. Yep. And we're supposed to stop acting like children. Yep. Is it just me, or do those 2 things seem to be mutually exclusive? Don't they kind of seem to be saying the opposite thing? Well, no, they actually aren't. They actually both have very good, valid points behind them. For example, Jesus tells us that we are supposed to become like children. Well, what does it mean to become like a child in relation to God? Well, think about babies first and what they are. There are basically 3 things that babies do in life. They eat, they sleep, and they...
Oh, wow. It worked.
Ew. Yes, they do. Babies, as far as babies go, they don't have a whole lot of responsibility. They completely and totally rely on their parents to meet their needs. They don't worry about their next meal. They don't have anxiety over what the future may hold. They completely trust that their needs will be met by their parents who have things under control. Becoming like children, when Jesus is referring to that, is taking this attitude of complete trust and transferring that mentality over to God, our Father. Becoming a child of God means that you believe He has everything under control and that He will provide for your needs as those needs arise. That's not an easy thing to do. I don't know about you, but I like to be in control, and when I feel that control is slipping away in fear, I tend to grab hold even tighter. You see, we would rather have things planned out to the very last detail than to hand control of the reins over to God and allow Him to take complete control. But humbling ourselves, becoming like a child, well, that gives God the reins and basically says, okay, God, do what you're going to do. That's why we're supposed to become like children. That's what Jesus is talking about. But at the same time, we're not supposed to act like children. What do children act like? Oh my, where do I begin? Do you have the rest of the day available? I mean, I always feel like I should warn couples before they have children so that they can weigh out all the options before jumping right in. I mean, what kinds of things do I want to tell them? What kinds of things do I want to, wisdom do I want to instill them with that I've learned throughout the years? Well, I would tell them that having a kid is like suddenly getting the world's worst roommate. Yep, just overnight. They are unemployed. They don't pay rent. They keep insane hours. Their hygiene is horrible. I mean, if you had a roommate that did the things that babies do, you would ask them to move out. You would. Do you remember what happened last night? Today you're all smiles, but last night you were hitting the bottle really hard. Then you started screaming. Then you threw up on me. And then you passed out and wet yourself. Yeah, it's like having an awful roommate. And as your baby grows, you think, oh, it's going to get easier when they turn into a toddler. You're wrong. Having a 2-year-old is kind of like having a blender that you don't have the top for. Yeah, it's pretty messy. And then some people are dumb enough to have another one. Everyone thinks that having more kids will be like this. Oh, yeah, isn't that nice? Yeah, that's not reality, though. In reality, it's more like this. Yes! And not are they only against you, they are also against each other. Having one child makes you a parent. Having 2 children, well, that makes you a referee. With 2 kids, when one of them asks to play tag with the other one, they're really saying, let's go for a short jog before we start pushing each other down to the ground and then go running to mom to tattle on you. Yeah, that's what they're saying. You know what it's like having a 3rd kid? Well, imagine that you're drowning and then someone hands you a baby. That's what it's like when you add 3 into the mix. But don't worry. I mean, they don't need siblings to do something dumb. Absolutely not. And they are super proud of their dumb moments. Mommy, watch this. Do you know what that's the equivalent of? It's the equivalent of saying, hold my beer. Yeah, it usually means that something dangerous and stupid is about to take place. And poor moms especially. Moms will never have a moment to themselves ever again. When they go to the bathroom, this is what it looks like outside the door. Yeah, but don't worry. Your kids will hit their teens. Everything will get better. I mean, teens really do brighten up a household. That's, of course, because they never shut off any lights in the entire house. When your children are teenagers, it's also very important for you to get a dog so that someone in the house is happy whenever you get home from work. And you guys can laugh right now, but I can guarantee you that my youngest is sitting there right now thinking, I don't know why they're laughing. He didn't say anything funny at all. Not anything. You see, teens, they happen to be the biggest destroyers of ego on the planet. And not only they destroy your self-esteem, they will also destroy your house. They really will. And don't ask them to help clean it up, because they can go from being a healthy, sarcastic teen to someone suffering from a medical emergency with the snap of a finger. Yeah, that's what they turn into. Having a teenager, it's kind of like having a cat that only comes out to eat and then hisses when you try to pet it. Now, of course you know, I'm only joking when I say these things about kids. No, I'm not. I'm not joking. But kids, honestly, they do have some qualities that leave much room for improvement. I mean, I'm just being honest here with that. So when Paul says, when I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me, what exactly is he talking about? I mean, honestly, there are quite a few things that Paul could be referring to. For me personally, when I read through this section of Scripture, the biggest one that I find right now, having 3 teenagers, is the constant putting of each other down. Just all day long, every day. It seems to me that the goal of every teen out there is to make their siblings or parents or friends feel as absolutely dumb and worthless as possible. That's what they're trying to do with everything that comes out of their mouths. Because teens are constantly putting everyone down. And if I could somehow take a scripture and ingrain it into their very beings, that scripture would be Ephesians 4:29. It says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building up others according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." Don't you feel that this is not just a verse that teens need, but a verse that the entire world needs right now? Don't you feel that when Paul is telling us to get rid of our childish ways, that this verse would be one of the biggest ones that we're experiencing, or is it just me? You know, Ephesians 4:29 actually has 2 parts to that verse. Part number 1 is, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. What is included in that category of unwholesome talk? Well, probably mostly everything that we say. Because unwholesome talk would include swearing, taking the Lord's name in vain, putting someone down, gossiping, whining, yelling in anger, speaking with sass in your voice, hurtful sarcasm, complaining, grumbling, being grouchy, insulting, making someone feel dumb, hurting feelings, coarse joking, being rude, and more. I mean, there would be a lot of quiet moments in our lives if we were actually putting effort into not saying these things, wouldn't there be? I mean, it seems like we are constantly saying something that God wouldn't approve of if we first checked with him first if we should say it. And why is our speech like this? Why? Why is our speech filled with so many of these negative things? Why do we so often have things come out of our mouths that shouldn't even have been in our minds, let alone coming out of our mouth? You know, it kind of reminds me of my kids at dinner time. It seems that more often than not, our dinners turn into something like this. Leah: "Hey, Mom, does this fork look weird to you?" Caleb: "You wouldn't know a weird fork if it fell out of the sky and hit you in the eye." Leah: "I don't remember inviting you into this conversation." Jaina: "Leah, Caleb knows 5,000 times more about forks than you ever will." Leah: "Well, at least I don't eat with my fingers." Caleb: "Mom, did you hear what he said to me?" Oh, that was Leah, by the way. Jaina: "At least I don't use 1,000 tissues a day." Caleb: Leah: "He did it again. Aren't you going to do something about this?" Pete: "I wish I was deaf." Leah: "Why are you always yelling at me? You always take his side." And thus ends dinner. Isn't it great to be a family sitting around a dinner table? Woohoo! No wonder so many families eat in the living room in front of the television. That way they don't have to talk to each other. We are constantly putting each other down for no other reason than the joy of putting each other down. That is, honest to God, what we're trying to accomplish. And this has to definitely be one of those childish ways that Paul would tell us to leave behind us. And he even tells us how to do it. He tells us how to leave this childish way behind. But many times we forget that there's a second half to this verse. You see, he says, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." Folks, it is not enough to simply not say bad. Instead, we are called to replace the bad with something good. Our job is not to tear people down. Our job is to build people up. It's to make them feel good about the person that God made them to be. And it's a great start if you're not saying things to make people feel bad about themselves, but that should actually just be the start. That should be the beginning, because the second half is even more important than the first. We need to put a concerted effort into building people up. Well, how do we do that? I feel like it's something we're not used to doing. So how do we do that? Well, it's giving someone a compliment about their looks or something that they're wearing that you've noticed. A change in a hairstyle. It's making them feel good about themselves. It's pointing out a great quality in them. It's countering something that stung by giving them the truth of who they really are. It's making them feel loved and appreciated for their hard work. It's helping them to grow their self-esteem. It's pointing out the good and overlooking the bad. It's motivating and inspiring people to be better instead of only beating them down over and over again for messing up in our minds. We are surrounded by wonderful people who deserve our kind words, our compliments. I'm not asking you to lie, folks. I'm simply asking you to look for the good that is already there and to help others see it in themselves. I'm asking you to build up your children and your grandchildren. I'm asking you to build up your spouse, to build up your parents and your grandparents, to build up your friends, to build up your coworkers, to build up even your siblings. I'm asking you to be different. I'm asking you to let this be one of the childish things that we put behind ourselves. And how do we put this childish berating of everyone behind ourselves? Well, instead of tearing them down, we build them up. And then I promise you, you will watch those beautiful words flow right back in your direction. Because it feels good to be loved and appreciated. So let's put away this one childish aspect and let us be people who truly build each other up. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Take care. God bless and hope to see you soon.